this is also a long story, so just bear with me, if you will. So 2020 happened, right? We all remember parts of that. January of 2020, or December of 2019, I was cast in Glimmer at Jet City Improv by Rebecca Schroeder. And it was basically like Glimmer was like based off of Glow. It was a narrative long form improv show that was like Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, right? So it was wrestling and improv. And Alex auditioned too, my fiance. That's actually how we met,
Wow.
was at those auditions. And then he cast me in his long form thing at CSE. And then we did, anyway, so Glimmer happened. And through Glimmer, there was a school called Evolve in Seattle, and they were like, hey, girls, come and learn wrestling. So in like February of 2020, I took one wrestling class and I was like, this is amazing. And then the whole world collapsed into nothingness for a while. And then our good friend Cooper, Dean Cooper, he's a professional wrestler. He hit up Alex and I, and he hit up me and Alex, and he was like, hey, I'm buying a wrestling ring. I'm going to put it in my backyard. If you guys help me set it up, you can come and roll around whenever you want. And we were like, bet. So we went.
Was this during the pandemic too? Like it was just like people were just trying to like do different things to kind of occupy themselves.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he's quite good, and he had been training for 4 years or so at that point.
Okay.
And he was kind of like in our bubble, so we both felt safe or whatever. It was just kind of like we already see him. Like, so in like late summer of 2020, he bought the wrestling ring, and I kind of started training, but not really. And we started doing SOS Pro Wrestling, which is actually now a live show in Seattle, a live promotion, but that was all on YouTube. So if you look up SOS Pro Wrestling, start at season 2. Don't start at season 1. It's really, really hard for me to watch that because I didn't know anything. And they, Pitfall Jones and Dean Cooper were like, all right, we're going to teach you these moves. Ready, action. And I was like, what? Excuse me? We're going to do what? And they were like, you're athletic enough, you'll be fine. And I was like, I don't know how to jump. I can't. So that was like my 2020 intro to wrestling. And then the beginning of 2021, Alex and I moved to Jacksonville, and I kind of stopped wrestling until like September of 2021. SOS had its first live show. And I trained like here and there on and off, maybe 4 times in 2021 up until September, had my second live match ever. And I was like, okay, I got to do this. So October of 2021, I signed up for the Nightmare Factory in Atlanta, which is like this huge, like big
I love the
training.
names, by the way. Nightmare Factory.
Yeah, so if you're familiar with AEW, or actually if you're familiar with Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall, QT's faction in AEW is the Factory, and then Cody Rhodes is the Nightmare family because he's the American Nightmare because his father was Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. So that's where the name comes from.
Okay.
So they were my coaches along with Glacier and a couple other incredible folks. And I started training there, broke my foot in December, a few days before I was supposed to make my international debut on AEW Dark. That sucked, and then got back into it in March of this year.
How did you break your foot?
I was training for that debut match. So I was one-on-one with one of my coaches. And I just like if this is my body and like this is my foot, I just landed and my entire fucking body weight went onto the side of my foot. So it's called your 5th metatarsal. And I broke this little bone, and it was called a Jones fracture. So they're like notoriously slow healing, had to have surgery, non-weight bearing, like couldn't do anything lower body exercise wise, couldn't walk. If you scroll back far enough on my social media, I had this like super dope fake prosthetic leg that you like prop your knee up on, and then you walk around. So that all happened.
I remember seeing that stuff, and I didn't totally know what you were doing. Yeah. I had seen you done some wrestling, and then you were doing improv, and we knew each other, but not super well. But then I saw you had a cast, and you were still working out, and you've gotten very strong. And so it was just all of these like combined things. Like I didn't know if you were doing competitive bodybuilding or anything like that.
No, I like to be, I don't want to get, I mean, I like to be a little leaner than I am right now, but I don't ever want to be that lean. I like being able to like do stuff. I could only bench for 4 months. So I ended up getting a lot more upper body strength than I ever thought I would. My traps are like disgusting right now.
Yeah. You've gotten like, I mean, all the AEW promo stuff. So like you are yoked in those pictures. It's great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My mom told me my stepdad was like, oh, wow, like they really edited her on those promo photos, huh? And my mom's like, no, have you not seen her? Like, just FaceTime her right now. And I was like, what's up? And he was like, hit me with the double buys. And I was like, they're here.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a long story short ish of how I started wrestling and like the journey so far.